Hi everyone, Katie here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a Let's Talk About It video, and we're doing Disney Fan Theories Part 10, and this is about newer movies. So we have Strange Worlds, we have Onward, we have Turning Red, Coco, Encanto, and Elemental. So, and yes, I know Coco's a little bit older, but it's still relatively new. So the first one we're going to get into is for Strange World. And it says, the first theory is theories on the ending of Disney's Strange Worlds. At the end, we see that Pando is a parasite of some nature, slowly killing the giant turtle and defending itself through some fashion of bioelectricity, which is concentrated in its fruit. In the final shot of the film, we see that the Australia-sized turtle is the only living creature, at least on one hemisphere, of this planet, which is otherwise likely only water. This raises three important questions for me that made me stand up and shout at my TV as the credits began to roll. 1. What is the life cycle of the turtle? 2. What is the life cycle of the pando? 3. How did humanity wind up on the turtle's back? The turtle was a head-scratcher and ultimately led to the answer of my second and third question as well. We can see that the turtle utterly dominates the planet's surface, and its mountain peaks are too tall for ballooning over, likely due to the atmosphere thinning, possibly extending beyond the planet's stratosphere. Why does a water-living creature live this way? What does it eat, and how does it reproduce? I believe the turtle is the adult stage of a much smaller water-dwelling juvenile, the growth of which takes place over millennia. The juveniles spend its life eating and growing until they reach sexual maturity, at which point they transition to a floating filter feeder. Massive green patches of ocean can be seen, potentially its food source. Once it reaches sufficient mass, it explodes. That's right, she erupts like a volcano. I believe the ecosystem of Strange Worlds is not confined by biomes, regions, continents, or even planets, but by the outer limits of the solar system, if not farther. I suggest that there are a significant number of life-bearing planets, some capable of exchanging genetic material between each other. The turtle spreads its eggs across the solar system, some of which lands on habitable planets. This leads us to Pando, our deceptively clever electrofungus. I have a hard time believing that Pando developed alongside the turtle. It's simply too effective of a predator and would have devoured its only food source and starved itself, unless it too comes from another planet. Using some form of electric-based propulsion, it goes from planet to planet, finding a suitable megafauna host, suffocating its heart, then using the energy from eating its prey to launch out its spores. So quick recap, life in the solar system of Strange Worlds is present on multiple worlds and has evolved to reproduce to and prey on life from these neighboring planets. This leaves our last question. This clearly isn't Earth or our solar system, so where do these humans, human crops, and human pets come from? This also can be explained by the planetary exchange. Humanity sent a colony ship to that system in hopes of establishing new territories. While scouting out the water world of the turtle, they are struck by Pando's spores and are forced to land on the only land in sight, the turtle. Losing the bulk of their check in the crash, generations of humanity progressed to an agrarian society without electricity, desperate to expand beyond the mountains confining them. I understand there are other explanations from these, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on my ramblings. That's actually a pretty good theory. I mean, there were some parts of it that were a little out there in a way, but that last part about humanity sending a colony ship, that makes sense. And then they ended up crashing onto the turtle, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that makes sense. Ian and Barley's mom, Laurel, and Colt Bronco. I believe the two have recently started seeing each other, and this is likely the first relationship since Wilden passed away just over 16 years ago. A few things to point out. 1. At the beginning, Laurel is doing a home workout routine which doesn't seem like she has been on for a while, or could have recently started. Then later in the movie, we see Colt's workout pose on her phone when he calls, which could imply she started working out to impress him. 2. The way the boys wince when the two kiss, implying they aren't used to seeing their mom with another man, at least not intimately. 3. The cheesy main man title in her phone for Colt. 4. Colt doesn't seem interested in the boys seeing their father or anything they do for that matter, just that the kids are upsetting their mom. As an officer, he could have helped them and won big points as a stepdad figure. 5. Officer Spector consoles Ian, disguised, about being a new parent with her girlfriend's daughter relating to Bronco's distress of being a new parent. I think, wasn't that the whole point, was that their relationship was new? I thought that was the whole point, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe I just assumed that. Okay, moving on to Turning Red. The Lee family are survivors of the Cultural Revolution. I thought this would have been necessarily implied here, but I thought I might try and spell it out here. Oh, hold on. I thought this would have been necessarily implied, but I thought I might try and spell it out here. The Lee family matriarch, Grandma Wu, is very insistent on hiding the red panda's secret. Their ancestor, Sun Yi, would have most likely been a member of ancient China's landed gentry, meaning her descendants would have necessarily been persecuted during the revolution. Such a great ancestral power like the red pandas would have in time turned into a family curse, being marks of porgious lineage. Thus the need for the talismans to conceal their heritage. Many ancient temples and cultural artifacts like the ones of these preside over were looted and destroyed by communist Red Guards during the 1960s. Perhaps this is why the family temple in Toronto is cared for so well. I mean, it would make sense. I don't have anything to go against that. Okay, we're moving on to Coco. Ernesto de la Cruz was going to murder Hector anyways. I posted a different theory on this movie a few days ago. It was on the Rivera Shoe Business. Anyways, this is a different theory. Is the theory that Ernesto de la Cruz was planning on killing Hector regardless if he left or not. In the movie, Hector gets homesick and is about to leave when Ernesto offers him a shot of alcohol before he left. The whole time, Hector thought he died of food poisoning, but he really died from getting intentionally poisoned by Ernesto. We all know this, but however, it's pretty strange that Ernesto had poison on hand, almost like he was ready for it. He was begging Hector to stay because he needed his song lyrics, and they were so close to extreme fame. I feel like as soon as they would have hit extreme fame, he would have poisoned Hector anyway. Think about it. Why have poison on hand if you're not planning to use it? He even said himself he needed his lyrics, not Hector himself. It makes the movie so much darker than it is. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Why did he have that poison? Why was the poison so, readily available right there and then? That makes a lot of sense. Okay, this next theory is called Coco and Death. As I have watched the movie Coco for the 100th time this week, I've realized something. We know Hector was murdered, but we don't know where he was buried, and no one knew he was dead, so I was thinking more into it. Hector's body was dumped. That's why his clothing and hat is tattered, and he was borrowing a femur. He lost his due to scavengers. Everyone else was buried in beautiful clothing. Also being forgotten is because the last family member of the family that remembers that person is dying. Maybe someone has already figured this out, I don't know. So the first part of it, that his body was dumped, that's very possible because we don't know where Hector's buried. He's not buried in the cemetery in the town, so where is he buried? It's very possible that he was dumped after he was poisoned. But the second part of it, I think that was the point of the movie. Being forgotten is because the last family member that remembers that person is dying. That was kind of the whole thing because he wasn't on the I don't want to say it wrong, but I can't think of the word. He wasn't on the wall or the table of ancestors that they were remembering. So of course he was being forgotten because he wasn't on. What's it called? The ofrenda? I don't remember what it's called. I don't want to say it wrong. Okay, we're moving on to Encanto. Louisa resents her sister Mirabel. In the movie Mirabel, the only magical not granted powers. Everyone seems cool with this, but I was listening to Louisa's song and it made me realize. Louisa resents Mirabel. In the song, she's constantly saying, give it to your sister, she's stronger, she can handle it, etc., etc. She's singing to Mirabel that she's cracking under the weight of her powers because she has to pull Mirabel a dead weight around. Also where she says that she's sure that without being of service she's worthless because she sees the way Mirabel is treated, ignored by most of the family and forced to stay in the nursery like a child. She sees Mirabel as worthless and doesn't want to be like her. The song is way darker when you look at it through this lens. I'm the strong one, I'm not nervous, I'm as tough as the crust of the earth is, I move mountains, I move churches, and I glow 'cause I know what my worth is. I don't ask how hard the work is, got a rough indestructible surface, diamonds and platinums, I find on my platinum. I take what I'm handed, I break what's demanded, but under the surface I feel berserk as a tightrope walker in a three-ring circus. Under the surface, was Hercules ever like, yo, I don't want to fight Cerberus? Under the surface, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service. Okay, hold on. I'm not gonna read, they put the whole song in here. Yeah, so the whole point of their theory is that Louisa resents Mirabel. I don't know if she necessarily resents her or she's afraid of ending up like her. Because everybody sees Mirabel as like nothing. She doesn't have a power. She's not, special. She's nothing. So I think that they're all kind of scared to turn out, to end up being like her. So they have to keep up their performances and make sure that they're showing their magic and everything. Okay, the next theory. The real reason they don't talk about Bruno is he had a vision of Camilo's violent death. In the song, everyone sings about a vision that Bruno had about them personally. Here's what Camilo says. A 7-foot frame rats along his back. When he calls your name, it all fades to black. Yet he sees your dreams and feasts on your screams. This sounds like a description of the Grim Reaper. Making it rain on a wedding day does not seem like something worth shunning someone, but a death script does. Also notice when Bruno returns, Camilo is not at all happy about it. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think Camilo was just describing how people saw Bruno. I don't think it was anything to do with him. I don't think Bruno had any visions about Camilo. None that were specifically talked about. None about Camilo, none about Luisa or Antonio, or, just Isabella and Dolores. So, I don't know. I don't agree with that one. So the next one is from the new movie Elemental. Chain link fences are there to discriminate against earth elements. In the trailer, we see the water elemental walk right through a fence and the fire elemental burns through it. Both are confused as to why these even exist. Indeed, air elements wouldn't be bothered by them either. Which one would? Earth. A big theme in this movie is thinly veiled allegories for racial segregation and interracial dating. So an architecture choice that singles out the only solid element would fit in. That makes sense. Okay, the last one is also Elemental. Elemental and Inside Out take place in the same universe. I have a theory that the Elemental movie takes place inside Riley's head and her limbic system, which deals with emotions and primal instinct, instead of her frontal lobe, which deals with logic. The Inside Out headspace is in the logical part of the brain, thus it's fully aware of both the progression of development and the fact that they're inside someone's head. They deal with conscious memories, etc. The Elemental universe is part of a brain system that is more emotional. The system is crucial to our functioning as humans, but it hasn't changed much since our species' monkey days. It's responsible for emotion, subjective pleasure, coordinating some movements, temperature regulation, and communication with the endocrine system. Its citizens can't logically conclude they're in a brain. The blue flame in its holder resembles the synaptic connection between two neurons, and the bubbles that form above resemble the process of charged ions and hormones transferring between the bottom and top. These connections are constantly destroyed and rebuilt. Ember seems to resemble joy. They're probably both representatives of serotonin. The retro, unlike the train of thought, runs consistently, but is also somewhat unpredictable and messy. The retro could be responsible for Riley's actual deep-seated feelings, and who knows how much influence the control board has over the elemental city. I mean, I think that's a good theory. I don't know if it's necessarily like a true theory, but I think it's like an interesting theory. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to read these theories on your own and read through the comments, the links are in the description of this video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.